Good afternoon, this beautiful day here in Scottsdale, Arizona. This will be kind of the wrap up from this location as both Malia and I have to change locations now. This donated location has run its course and its time, unfortunately. We are so grateful for the people that have donated this spot. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to point you to something today. Naughty Beaver released a video that says that he discloses the birthday of Jesus. Well, it's great. It's not about whether I agree with this date or don't agree with this date. I actually agree with the month of March and have expressed so in a comment on the video, but I encourage you to watch it because Naughty's touching base on a lot of things that I've spoken of on multiple occasions. And this is what I love about this, is that both from a scientific or from a spiritual or even from a physical perspective, that we ultimately will arrive at the truth. It might be different words, it might be a different pathway as to how you've come to the conclusion of the truth, but ultimately the end is the same. And it might have different names. And so what Naughty is talking about is Moses being Akhenaten, which if you've read lots of ancient history and lots of different ancient texts, you'll realize that that is most likely the case. You will, and all of the things that Naughty is disclosing are just different variations of the truth that other people in multiple different locations around the world, multiple different perspectives, multiple different religions, multiple different backgrounds, everybody has essentially come to the same truth. And the one important part that he speaks of is this fragment of the soul. Now, many of you may recall a video that I've had in the past where I was talking about how the ancient Egyptians, the amazing part is that they had all of these starfish that were extruded ornaments essentially on the stone inside of the ancient pyramids. And starfish represent something very interesting, that if you chop up a starfish into 100 pieces, 100 pieces will each become its own starfish, which is essentially a portion of the DNA, but a replica of the one to a degree. From a DNA perspective, it's a sun. So chopping up a starfish is a way of having children for starfish. Interesting that one single main soul is powerful enough and energetic enough that if you split it up into multiple carnate beings, as we are, that a single soul could exist in millions of people. A single soul could exist in 5 people only. So you might be interacting with 5 other versions of yourself. Now, this is something that I've explored long ago, is that many times I've run into people throughout the world and during the course of my travels around the world, and that I've come in contact with somebody that I realized was somebody else that I knew, but it was a different version of that person had they made the life choices that this person had made. And so it was amazing that once I started to realize that that could be the case, it became very interesting now to then question the same thing with regards to the people that I've come in contact with for myself. Am I speaking with a variation of a portion of my soul? And I believe that many people, when they're led, I believe that this is exactly what Christ meant when he said that my sheep will hear my voice. Why? Because they're all his sheep. They're part of the same flock. So, or the same order of soul. And that order would be an energy or a portion of the overall energy of the universe, the creation of all things, the Father of all. So yes, this sounds esoteric, and this might sound a little odd to the Christian, but realize that if these esoteric teachings and these things ultimately are telling you the same thing about Christ and about the understanding of the Spirit of Christ and the kingdom of God within you, doesn't it seem to realize that you should probably take a better listen to some of these things and figure out how we are all trying to expand on the same truth, but from multiple perspectives, so more people can become enlightened. So I love Naughty's approach to this entire video. I really enjoy Naughty. I love Naughty. You can tell that he's a very sweet spirit, and as I've said, in videos earlier when Naughty and I first met that everyone's calling they are executing on. Naughty is executing on a calling. This is his job. This is precisely what he's supposed to do, and the way that he sees things is precisely how he is supposed to see those things. And the way that I see things is precisely how I'm supposed to see those things, and likewise for you. Now, that doesn't mean that the way I see things can't be like what you see, because if we're all of one mind and of one accord, that could presuppose that we're part of one energy and potentially one soul. So, just an interesting look at this, and I thought that you would really appreciate Naughty's video. And I also want to discuss something else today, which is something that I don't like getting into, but it is the political aspect of the world right now. But not because I'm into politics, but precisely because I always try to show how the things that are taking place in the physical world are having an impact on us spiritually and emotionally. And just precisely what that looks like going forward, you can begin to extrapolate and understand what's going to take place. But with that said, you have many people looking at the impeachment hearings and all of those. And first of all, let's just make a note here. They are not impeachment hearings because it is not a trial in Congress. This is an impeachment inquiry. So with that is they're trying to find out whether there's a crime. That's why there's an inquiry. Well, ultimately, the result is that this is truly I would call the nuclear option for the one side of the cabal. What we have is we have two massive cabals that are striking out against one another. So you have Trump and his cabal, and understand who his cabal actually is. We can get into that in another video. But I think you already know. And then you have the Democratic Party when their cabal contains the FBI and the NSA and the CIA and basically the shadow government that has been running the country since the country was actually incorporated and owned by the international banking system. So with that said, is that we were born into this world looking at it as though we had a government when we really had a corporation. Most of us, in fact, I would say 99.9% of all people on Earth right now were born during that incorporate period. So, with that, we have these cabals that are battling at the top. Now, what is going to take place isn't what you think about the impeachment, because we still actually have to have a trial. Now, during a trial, you don't get to have hearsay, and you don't get to have assumptions, and you can't bring in people that are unqualified as a witness. And what unqualified as a witness means, they are disqualified because they don't actually have enough information, or they're not as closely related to the subject as they need to be to justify their version of anything as being valid or that could weigh against somebody legally. So there's a disqualification of things that are spoken, like hearsay. There is a disqualification of things where somebody speaks out of their order. In other words, they're just giving their opinion. Opinions aren't entered into testimony in a court. Opinions are not until the lawyer will give his final summation, and even then his final summation will be based on facts that were entered into the court. It will never be his opinion, except he is asking them to formulate an opinion that is like his, which says that person is guilty. So, we have something taking place that is going to blow up. Everything is going to reverse in the order that you see it going now, because the criminal activity that is being disclosed as a result of this and as a result of the nuclear option, this nuclear option brought about by one cabal is going to be the, let's just say, the excuse the other cabal needs to destroy it. And so on 12/9/2019, in December, we have this interesting report coming out. And within that report, you're going to find out a whole lot of different things about the 2016 election that Democrats and the cabal, that cabal, don't want you to know. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying that Trump is good here. I'm not telling you that I'm a fan of Trump, because I don't play in politics. I only examine and observe it and bring it to you from time to time where it might relate to the spiritual understanding and the condition of the world that we're in right now. So the politics that I'm discussing about Trump is that Trump right now is just what is required to be able to destroy another dragon. Essentially, America has employed a dragon to kill a dragon. But ultimately, that dragon is human, and that dragon has attributes like probably the biggest ego and the largest case of narcissism many have ever seen. So that doesn't mean that you don't like Trump. You find yourself liking him because he happens to be the bad guy that is going after the worse guys. And that's how you see it. But ultimately, Trump is in a perfect situation to destroy the Democratic Party with this and ultimately win an election even after they've voted to impeach him. The destruction of the Democratic Party and that portion of the cabal will have massive impact across our governmental bodies. Massive impact. What is about to take place in this country is unlike any of us have ever even imagined before. So we're ultimately going to end up with an entire system that no one has faith in. They won't have faith in the voting system. They won't have faith in in the law enforcement agencies that run this country. They will not have faith in anything. The only thing they're going to have to be able to have faith in is the guy that just took all the bad guys out. But what does that now, bad guy that was killing the worst guys, when does he become the worser of worser guys, if you know what I mean? Just trying to keep it in extreme layman's terms. But what happens to that ego? And what happens to that emboldened stance? And what happens when he was actually able to point out the real deficiencies and the real corruption within our law enforcement agencies that run the entire federal government system? Well, now he's going to rebuild those, or he's going to restructure them. What is he going to do with them? And in the meantime, he will have nobody to look over his shoulder except the American people. Do you do that through your congressional members? Do they? How much power does Trump have over them, and then at that point over the people? Because at that stage, we no longer have the foundation of the country that you previously thought. We're starting from scratch, and that's where things get real serious, and that's why we point to massive civil disruption. We also have all of this taking place while we're completely ignoring some of the largest coming famines in the beef market and the meat market in general. We have serious things happening behind the scenes, including Israel now receiving from the United States a complete blanket to do whatever you want in Gaza after they've just reversed what they've stood for, which was that the settlements in Gaza and in Israel, the Israeli settlements are unlawful. International law says that they are illegal settlements. Well, the U.S. has just said that they don't think they're illegal, just like Israel. So now Israel has a true cohort with regards to Gaza and whatever they do, and it's the United States, which is why the U.S. is called the whore of Babylon. So anyway, just a little bit of an update. I will continue to come to you as we really kind of reform what this channel is all about. I am so thankful, and we are so thankful for the people that have supported this, and I promise you that as we go through these transitions about what we're going to do, is that the result of this is that this channel and what Malia and I are doing is going to be far more focused on what it is that we're supposed to be doing, and that the value of that will be transmitted and shown to you. So we don't want to get into too many details as to what that's going to look like, but I can promise you that it is, from the perspective of where we're headed and what's going on, it is the right thing for us to do, and it will teach us all a tremendous amount as we process this and produce the projects that we will be doing in the future. We thank you very much for your continued support for this ministry and what we're doing. We're not going anywhere. We appreciate your patience. We love you very much, and we will talk to you very soon.